There we go, and we're live. It says we're recording. So welcome, everyone. Today, this is our next edition of MidDay Café. I am your host, Michael Gannotti. I'm a technical specialist with Microsoft. And again, this week, I'm joined by
Scott Moore. I'm also a Teams technical specialist with Microsoft.
And today, we've got some exciting stuff to talk about, don't we?
We certainly do.
So Scott's going to go first. He has some stuff around Teams and encryption. But before you start that, what's the big thing you want to talk about that customers should be signing up for?
Oh, well, next week we have Ignite. So November 2nd through the 4th is Ignite. It's free. So definitely it is remote this year. Yep. It's remote. Surprise, surprise. So there will be a lot of good technical info, a lot of announcements that'll be coming out next week. Everybody's definitely on the edge of their seat to see what's coming out. So
I'll tell people, like, so if you have not signed up, even if you can't attend live, sign up. You can watch any of the sessions on demand. There are some huge announcements around Teams and Microsoft Viva that we can't talk about, but are aware of, and it's going to be exciting. So if you go to, just so you know, you go to myignite.microsoft.com. That's myignite, one word, .microsoft.com. You can go ahead and right there, you can sign up. They've got some content and a little bit on there to kind of tease out, but definitely it is worth, it's more than worth the price of admission, which is, what's the price?
Free.
Awesome. So what do you have about encryption? You want to talk, you were very cryptic about your encryption.
Just a tad. So yeah, last week we announced availability of end-to-end encryption with Microsoft Teams calls. So I wanted to cover that a little bit today, go over that at a high level. So this is actually going into public preview, and once you receive the latest update, your IT admins, they'll have the option to make this available in everybody's 365 tenant. So first, what is, when we say end-to-end encryption, what does that mean? And so it's really about the encryption of information, from its origin, and the decryption of that as its intended destination, without intermediate nodes or parties being able to decrypt that information. So it's been kind of a highly contested thing in the world around peer-to-peer calling, especially with conferencing. So we have this feature now enabled for one-to-one peer-to-peer calling. So we're rolling this out. It's unscheduled for one-to-one calls today. When both parties have that feature enabled, the call can be encrypted from end to end. And just another note there. So no other party, even including Microsoft, we have access to the decrypted conversation. So it is encrypted one-to-one. I'm going to share. There's a web page. There's a blog article about this. I was going to demo this in my tenant, but when I tried to do that, I noticed that my tenant also hasn't been updated. So this is so fresh off the press. But the blog article does actually talk about and go through the steps on how you would enable encryption.
Mm-hmm.
So let me see if I can actually share that. See if I can do side by side.
Are you going to get fancy on this?
I'm going to get a little fancy. Let's see if I can. So there you go. We're going to do side by side. Hopefully that works pretty well. So we'll share this blog article with this podcast. But this talks about what I just mentioned about end-to-end encryption. Also, it's going to go through the setup in your tenant. It's very easy to set up. Take note here. You'll actually see there's a new rail that says enhanced encryption policies under other settings. Mm-hmm. So that's what I noticed is I don't have the other settings and I don't have the enhanced encryption policies as of yet. Though at the tenant level, you can enable that for turn it on or turn it off for everyone in the organization. And then once they do that, there are some things that end users can do as well. So that at a top level, you do enable that at the tenant level. And then end users can go into their team settings, and under settings and privacy, it says here they can also turn that on. Just a thing to quickly note, because it does say you do need to have it enabled on both ends. So both parties do have to have this enabled for end-to-end encryption to work in both ways.
Right.
One thing it also did mention is when you do enable this, it is supposed to do this for all modalities of all clients. Though I need to test this because there was also some documentation here around. You also have the ability to enable this on mobile devices. So I think the setting is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems mobile, it says go to settings and calling, and then you can actually enable it on the mobile client as well.
Where's the rail that you were showing? Is that
that's actually in your Teams admin center in the Office 365 tenant. So I'll scroll back up. So in here, you'll see on the bottom, there's this new other settings.
So under rules?
It's actually in the Teams admin center under your rails for your blades for all your team settings. There's an other settings blade there now. So, and then under there, there's what's called enhanced encryption policies. So you probably, if you're trying to click through, you may not see that in your tenant as we see it today. So it looks like there's some modifications that are coming, optimizations for the Teams admin center blades forthcoming.
Other setting, yeah, I don't have other settings.
Yep. So,
yeah.
So I think this is bleeding edge because I think whoever wrote the article, this was actually Mansour Malik, is probably in a Ring 1, a very beta alpha version of a 365 tenant that's not public.
Yeah.
So, cool thing about this though is when you do have this enabled, you can actually see that the encryption is actually there.
Oh.
So the article does take note of that you can actually verify that. So you'll actually see a lock plus shield icon, and you can actually see the 20-digit security code. So that would be the same security code that your other party would also have access to. So if you're really ultra sensitive about this, then you can actually double check that both of you have the same encryption code for the call. When I say that, I think of spy conversations. So you could actually recite your encryption key with your partner to make sure that you are encrypted for some cloak and dagger type conversations. I'm making light. It's just a joke there. So that's basically it. So today, a couple of things. So there are some features that are not available that do not have end-to-end encryption today. Most of this is around the telephony features. So also, we do not have end-to-end encryption with telephony with PSTN. So it's only there for one-to-one calls currently today. And there are some features around recording, live captioning, call transfer, call part, call merge, call companion. And if you add a participant to make a one-to-one call or group call, then that will disable the encryption as well. So it's only today for one-to-one calls. So
gotcha.
And then there's also some additional information around audio video calls and meetings. So we do already have encryption there for that as well. So we'll definitely highlight the blog article as part of this series, but that's basically it. I wanted to cover that today at a pretty high level.
No, that's awesome. I mean, especially like if you think about, I'm just thinking of different scenarios where there's very sensitive conversations, privacy concerns like patient
confidentiality,
right?
Yep. Patient confidentiality, or where you may be discussing intellectual property things.
Yeah.
Sensitive
Absolutely.
Conversations. So I know that from a competitive perspective, folks have said, well, Microsoft doesn't have end-to-end encryption. Well, now we do.
There we go. All right. Well, very cool.
Cool stuff.
Anything else?
That's it for my piece today.
That's good stuff. So you want to stop sharing? I'm gonna share. And I got a couple of things I'm going to talk about. So you did side by side, so I'm going to be a floating head. We'll see how that works. And there we go. I'm seeing myself over there floating over the screen. So I have a couple of things to talk about today, a couple of announcements, and then an actual discussion of a set of features and some questions that have come up with customers around it. But first thing is, starting this Thursday, here we go, 4-part webinar series. So for Viva, I'll be starting the first of 4 Viva presentations. I will tell you, if you've been over here already, please go back. For some reason, when I saved all the .ics calendar invite files, the first one didn't have the link, even though it says click here. It did not have it. So I did update that. I will post on the blog later today an update with a direct link for this first session. And I'll just do that each week, each of the sessions. But the first one, we're going to be doing deep dives into first connections. And I'm going to show you end to end, walking through setting up the new connections. We'll also be diving deep into insights, into topics, into learning. Each of those will go through customization, extensions, things that you can do. So these are really meant to be deep dives. Want to hear your questions, please attend, and hopefully we can drive some value for it. If there's any, the last thing before anybody asks, yes, they're all going to be recorded and posted. So that's my first announcement. The second is in conjunction with the Ignite conference. So, and I'll have the link up in the post to this, but Microsoft Stream, those of you who want to use Stream and you have questions, we've been moving from Stream Classic to the new Stream based on SharePoint. And what they're doing is they have this post-Ignite Ask the Experts event. So they've posted this here. It's wide open. If you got questions around Stream, around migration, you want to talk directly to Mark Mraz and the product group, this is it. So they're putting that out there wide open. I was told go ahead and share it publicly, not just directly to customers. So take a look there. I highly encourage you. This is direct from the source, and they have a lot of great content around all the new stuff that's happening. There's been some great announcements. If you haven't seen those, just to let you know, like if I go back to, actually, let me go back to here, to blog. And just as a short example, they're continually rolling out stuff right before Ignite. But if I go to the Stream blog, for example, they've got a post out that they just did. Here we go, on transcripts and captions coming to Stream on SharePoint. Mm-hmm. So people have been asking for that, right? Hey, you started delivering this. You had it in live events. You were delivering it in Stream. We're going to have that all in line. So there's a lot, and they're barely scratching the surface here. These are the little teaser pre-announcements to Ignite. Register for Ignite, attend the Stream sessions, and also do the post-Ignite Q&A so that you can actually interact with those folks. So that's that. The last thing I had was around SharePoint. So I've been getting a lot of questions in conjunction with Viva Connections around SharePoint, Modern Framework Online, and personalization. What does Microsoft think of when we think personalization? What are things that we are doing directly to support that? And what are we not doing it and why? So first of all, Microsoft for personalization. So here we see a Viva Connection site. What we are targeting, and personalization is one of those loaded terms, can mean many things, like love is a many splendor thing. Personalization's a many splendid thing, right? Some people think of it as each person's getting stuff just for them. Other people think of it as people select and do things and all that. From Microsoft's standpoint, we provide for personalization, and what we have, based upon research that we have done, what we are doing out of the box with our web parts and components is allowing the organization to target content to users based on their role in an organization. And we call that audience profile targeting. Audience profile targeting means when I'm here looking at a page that either parts on a page or, for example, news components that are here or announcements, etc., that I can audience profile target so different people see different things. In the case of the new Viva dashboard, for example, I can target an individual tile. And so we allow for that targeting, and the way that we support that targeting is, one, via Azure AD security groups, and number two, Office 365 groups. So 365 groups, excuse me, means that even in the case where a team has been created in Teams, there's a 365 group created. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of flexibility there in how we're going to target and provide. So roles, et cetera. If if we were talking a provider, for example, a healthcare provider, maybe it could be ER nurses, and they might have a team. Well, guess what? There's nothing to do. All you do is add that team name. You go to start typing that team name, and you can target a piece of content, a web part, et cetera, all to that piece, even web links in SharePoint. So you can get very personalized in the delivery. But that is targeted personalization. We have seen that being the most effective when it's thought through. People get, they have user meetings, et cetera, determine what's appropriate for who, blah, blah, blah. And then they start to target. Because from a user standpoint, that means I don't have to do anything. I'm getting content and things that are relevant to me, including applications and connections, relevant to me just based off the fact I'm viewing, right? So whether I'm in Teams and looking at connections, I'm on the internet homepage, I don't have to do anything, but it is personalized and meaningful to me. Another type of personalization that I get frequently asked is, well, we want users to say, select this, 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 I wanted this, blah, 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 and go in. We're not providing that out of the box. That's not to say you can't do it. There's third-party web parts out there that do that, right? You can do things with the framework to provide that. We're not providing it because what we've seen is, to be blunt, there's little to no value in it, other than saying, hey, here's my, my weather. I want it targeted to where I live. Or more importantly, you shouldn't even have to do that, because if you are pushing that profile piece from your, record of people, that should just happen. But if you want to let people choose that kind of stuff, two problems that we've seen. One, people either won't do it, or it's annoying and they don't know what they're doing. They just want to be given that personalization. And number two is, people sometimes, especially if they can just add stuff to the page, since they don't know what to add, they go hog crazy, just adding everything. And that affects page performance, which affects their satisfaction with the page, which means they get a hot mess that they're like, I don't even like, this page is useless. So from our case, I mean, there are those who will pick stuff that make it meaningful, not discounting that. But what we've seen is the value, the trade-off of actual value versus providing that is usually just not there. So from our perspective, again, personalization means targeted information, but it is back-end targeting that, saying, whether it's the people publishing a news story, whether it's the people publishing a web part onto a page, et cetera. having it done based upon role-based delivery for users, so they just get it. So I just wanted to clear that up because I've gotten that question at least 4 times in the last 2 weeks, and, talking through. So, we do want to provide that. And again, there are third-party web parts where people can switch and change stuff up. But, like, for example, if you put a tile on from us for tasks, it's one tile, everybody gets it, but it's personal. My tasks, right? And similar things with others. So that's all I got on that. But personalization is a hot button. But again, in our case, think audience profile targeting. If you want to build a much more expansive, there are great partners who will build that with you within the SharePoint framework. And again, there are third-party web parts that allow you to choose options from a user standpoint. So that's it. That's all I got. So we have Ignite, Viva webinar series starting starting
Thursday.
Wednesday, not Thursday. Wednesday. Anything else?
That's it. It's busy
That's
week.
it? You mean I can eat my lunch?
Yeah.
Awesome.
There you go.
All right. So for everybody tuning in again, share the links out there. We'll have the links to everything we talked about with this post. This post is also getting pushed out, just so you know. The video will go out as audio only for those who want to take stuff on the go. Let people know about it. You can find MidDay Café not only here on the HLS blog, but on iTunes podcasts, on the Google Podcasts, Spotify podcasts, and more. Check us out. Take us on the go. Let your friends, family, let your dog know. They just love it. So this is Mike.
And Scott.
Have a great day, everyone. Take care. And as always, ciao.
See ya.